Hi, my name is Christy Davies, and I am so thankful you were able to join us today. I know that it's hard to take time out of your practice, and I sure do appreciate you taking the time to join us on today's webinar, Launching a Successful Regenerative Medicine Practice, the Steps You Need for Success. I've been working in the regenerative medicine space for quite some time now, and there's never been a more exciting time to jump into this space and be able to really truly bring this in as an offering. I thank you for your time and just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was an administrator for upwards of 17 years before that I was a nurse. I actually did, hands-on patient care, did a variety, a little bit of that as I was an administrator, jumped in where I needed to, and then moved into the consulting space in the last 6 years. In the last 4 years, I've devoted, almost 5 years now, have devoted my career to the to the space of regenerative medicine and helping physicians grow their practice in regenerative medicine and move into a cash-based facility. So we're really, really excited about this for sure. So my plans today are to leave you with your eyes opened about this exciting specialty of regenerative medicine and the steps to integrate it into your current practice. I know sometimes it's hard to branch into something new, and so we want to make sure that we really do help guide you on this path, because you are still considered a pioneer in this space, and it is important to have the support that you need, and we're here to offer that for you. What we're going to learn today are the steps needed to start your regenerative medicine practice, including why regenerative medicine, how to set up your practice, launch and grow your practice. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide because, of course, we're going to dive into each and every one of these pretty deeply, especially on the how to set up your practice and launch and grow your practice. As far as why regenerative medicine, of course, as we've talked about this, there's really no better time than now. To jump in. The insurance-based model is not working for a lot of providers right now. I'm going to share with you a slide here in just a moment that kind of goes into that a little bit deeper. But regenerative medicine is offering some great therapies for patients that before really were not getting the help that they needed. And we're really treating the body as it was intended, which is to heal itself. I get very excited when I talk to people about this, and anyone that sees me face to face will obviously see this in my eyes. I'm a true believer that this therapy is effective and it does work. I've been a patient myself, as has my husband and other family and friends that I've recommended for these therapies that have had great success. And I truly do believe that we are going to continue to see continued success as more and more information comes out about these therapies. So, in order to really set the tone for moving forward, we have to look at where we're at. So here's a little bit about today's situation and some of the bad news, so to speak. Insurance companies are dictating the treatment and how you treat patients and the plans and the way that you're paid and how you're paid and when you're paid, for that matter. And it is becoming more and more frustrating for physicians to truly understand and be able to battle and win, more importantly, with these insurance payers. I look at offices where they have 3, 4 people working just on insurance claims alone. For 1 and 2 provider practices. These aren't even big practices. These are fairly small practices. You have to have someone who's going through the coding and going through the LCDs, and then you have someone on the back end who's going through the denials, the appeals, then someone else who's doing the pre-authorizations and getting the understanding of where the patient is at with their policy. All those things take time and money for you to run your practice successfully. As far as the insurance companies go, one of the common trends we're continuing to see is decreased reimbursement. There is no doubt about it. The reimbursement continues to decline for physicians time and time again for payers and specifically for specific procedures. It does continue to go down. It's been a while since we've had a real raise where they've said, oh, wow, we know the cost of this is going up, so let's bump this up a little bit. That rarely happens. The credentialing rules are becoming very difficult to manage and maintain, and that's another staff member that you've got to have in there to help make sure that you're in alignment with what those insurance companies are wanting, and the hospitals as well. And patients essentially are treated based on what their insurance plan covers. We look at this and it's like, well, this is what your insurance plan will do. You know, we can do this, 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 and this, but it won't do this. Or I've got to do all these things before I can actually treat you for what I really think you need to have done. We've got to play this game, and it becomes a game of a losing battle, as we know. And finally, on the insurance company sides of things, these deductibles, as we know, are very high. I'm no exception to that. My deductible is $6,500. Thankfully, I've not had any reason to meet that, and that's for an individual policy for each of my family members. That's the individual deductible. And so, you know, unless I have a major surgery or a you know, an accident or a major illness of some kind, I'm not going to meet that with traditional outpatient care, and most patients will not. Well, this is good news, or bad news and good news, because when you're talking about a cash model where you're wanting to bring in cash therapies, this is a great time to talk about these deductibles and just say, well, where are you at with your deductible? Have that information available and say, well, you've only met $500 of your $8,000 deductible. Chances are good you're not going to meet that deductible. I'd really like to, and so your care is going to be considered cash from me. Anything you get done for me is going to be considered cash because it's going to be applied to deductible, which means I'm not going to get paid by the insurance company, and you're going to need to pay me. So let's talk about some other therapies. That's a great time to intervene and step in and do that. It's part of the coaching that you'll learn and grow with as you're talking to patients about these therapies. But one of the things I really want to have you leave with on this, and this is one point that I'm like, if you learn nothing else off of this webinar, I just really want you to make sure that your staff is finding out where patients are at with their deductibles. And when I say that, I don't mean have your patient say, oh, I've already met my deductible, bill my insurance, only to find out 30 days later they haven't met any of it, they didn't pay you a dime, and now you're chasing them down for money, which we know how that ends. Or when they say, oh, bill my insurance and let me know what I owe ya. That's also not an effective way of doing business. Nobody does business like that. We're going to leave today with our new business hats on and our new business suits and our new pumps and purses and whatever we need to get out there and do business the way business people do this. And that is by going into business with patients when you know all the information, which would be that your staff is getting that deductible information from a reliable source, where they're at, and knowing what their out-of-pocket is going to be for the services that you're going to provide, and that you're collecting from those patients up front. Okay, my dear friend Richard Rosenthal has a great saying, and I love it, and I use it often in some of my talks, but I got to give him credit from it, and that is that it is very hard to pay for a steak that you ate 6 months ago. Think about that and how your patients pay you. You know, if you treated them 6 months ago, how likely are they to pay you if they haven't paid you yet? Not very likely. They've kind of forgotten about it. They've moved on to other things. Again, moving into hospitals. Hospitals are building networks to compete with independent physicians. There is no doubt about this. They've drawn the line in the sand very, very clearly, and their role is to sniff you out and to essentially snuff you out. They don't want you out there. They do not want competition in the healthcare place. They can say whatever they want to in commercials or in front of you, but the evidence states that they really are wanting physicians to be under the banner of hospitals and hospital networks. And the only reason they're doing that is because it helps them make more revenue. There's no other reason. We know now, as time has gone on, and we've kind of hit a 5-year cycle on this, and moving on to a 10-year cycle on these hospital networks, that they're not always efficient and effective at running this. Recently, St. Luke's in Houston just laid off a whole bunch of workers, staffers in their office, essentially because they were losing money. And that is because they are not good at managing outpatient facilities. They are good at running hospitals, and that means inpatient care, surgeries, those types of things. That's what hospitals are designed to do. Emergency medicine, that's what those hospitals are designed to do. And when you step out of your role, you really are not able to truly be effective at what you do or be efficient. And so, you know, we just really aren't able to do that. And that is, as we know, increasing the cost of healthcare. Sorry, I just had to drink a glass of water there. So when we are talking about these hospitals increasing the cost of healthcare. I'm sure you've all heard the story of where a patient comes in and says, yeah, well, my family practice doctor is over at St. Luke's or wherever. Don't mean to pick on St. Luke's, but just name popped into my head. And I have to pay a facility fee on top of my office visit. I come to see you, and you're a specialist, and it doesn't cost me as much. That doesn't make any sense. They're right. It doesn't make any sense. This is obviously increasing the cost of healthcare, and we need to make sure that we are being good stewards, and we are making sure we're maintaining our independence and pulling away from these hospitals. And lastly on this slide is that continuing education is expensive. Most times you're paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for a weekend course, plus your time away from your practice, your family, your travel time, your hotels, all of that. It becomes very, very expensive. And then as a lot of physician friends and colleagues tell me is that I come to this course to learn something new. I come home, I'm hit with a million things, and I fall right back into my old rut, and I don't ever, I'm not able to grow. I'm not able to bring in some of these new therapies that I was excited about just a couple weeks ago because I'm so burdened with all of this today's situation. Well, one of my goals here today is to help you move beyond that and to help keep you set in the mindset to keep moving forward. So let's go into the good news. Regenerative medicine, this is a cash procedure, as we know. Most of the insurance companies are not covering this. The manufacturers and the device companies and the allograft manufacturers and the labs, we are not pursuing insurance coverage for these procedures. The reason is that as soon as insurance gets into the mix, you're going to fall right back into the same mess that we were in on the previous slide, and we just don't want that. We know that that is not a good way of doing business. Physicians, you're able to price this and get paid for the work that you do, plain and simple. You feel the service is worth $1,000, that's what you charge, that's what you get paid, and at the end of the day you go home with that $1,000. I mean, there's no insurance cut, there's no other pieces along the way that you have to negotiate out. That is essentially your revenue for those procedures. There's no contractual adjustments on cash procedures. Now, you can certainly make deals with people because it is a cash procedure. You can offer them specials. There's lots of things you can do, but essentially this is a cash paying procedure, and you're able to set your prices and get paid for that work. Patients are starting to ask for this. So many times, especially in this last couple months, I have doctors emailing me or running to me at different meetings that I'm speaking at, and they're, Christy, I've got patients asking for this. I know I talked to you about a year ago about this. I should have started then. I need to start now because I'm losing patients to my competitors, and I don't like that. And so it's really nice that patients are doing research out there. There's a lot of great information out there now about platelet-rich plasma. A lot of stars have had that. There's a lot of people that have had these therapies, and so more and more patients want what those patients have had to get better, and they're asking about those therapies also. Out-of-pocket comparable is similar. Now let's spend a second on this. So let's just say this is a pain management practice that I'm in right now, and they're looking at doing a series of 3 epidurals for a patient. When you look at what that series, and they have not met their deductible, which most patients still have not at this point in the year. And so when you look at what their out-of-pocket cost is going to be versus potentially one regenerative medicine injection or therapy, it might not be that different. And that's why you need to know the tool, you need to know all the evidence, you need to have all of the evidence where they're at with the deductible, what the allowables are for their payer, what you're planning on doing, so that you can actually go in and talk to this patient and have a real conversation with them about their care. And what we know for certain is that patients that invest in their care are better patients with better outcomes. If you have a patient that is like, yeah, I'm willing to do what it takes, I am tired of this pain, I don't want to have surgery, there may be multiple reasons why they want to have surgery, don't want to have surgery, and they're willing to try anything to avoid that. And so it is very, very helpful, and it's very beneficial to know that the patients that are investing in their care always are better patients. They're not as high in number as your insurance payment patients, and that's okay. We're talking about real quality patients, and patient selection is very important when it comes to regenerative medicine. So let's move into the rest of our agenda here. We've kind of talked about why regenerative medicine, so let's start more in about setting up your practice here. So when you're talking about setting up shop, getting started, this is essentially a new business that we're doing here. Even if you're only doing it in a small amount. Um, the to really move into the regenerative medicine space, you need to have a clear plan of what you're going to do. This includes hours of operation. And I'm going to talk about hours of operation because this comes up. Doctors are like, Christy, why do I need to set up hours? I don't have any patients yet. Well, my thought is that you should set aside at least 2 to 3 hours a week out of your clinic hours that you set aside for this part of your business. You may not have patients yet at that time, but you need to have time to build this business, because if you say I'm going to do it at night, or I'll catch up on the weekends, we know what happens to those hours. You get home, you're tired, you're trying to spend time with your family, on the weekends you're trying to relax and have a little downtime, and it's just really hard to get to that work. The business professionals who are making this a success are the ones that are taking time out of their already scheduled day to really focus on building their business. So that would mean, at this point you'd be doing your business plan. You'd be working on your practice operations. Maybe you're going to meet with your marketer. Maybe you're going to go out and meet with a few providers that you want to talk with during that time. But make sure you're carving out that time so that you can get the work done that needs to get done. Because otherwise it's going to be another one of those things that you say you're going to do, you want to do it, you kind of buy everything, you get everything you need to do it, and then it kind of gets pushed to the back burner because real life sets in. Another thing about this is that your administrator, your scheduler, is going to want to stick patients in there. If you're a busy doctor, which I know most of you guys are, they're going to say, you don't have anything scheduled during this time. You don't have any regenerative medicine patients. I want to schedule that in here. I want to get scheduled in, kind of put a patient in here that needs to get seen. And that's where you need to stand firm as a business owner and say, no, Susie, I'm sorry. Today I am focusing on my regenerative medicine practice. I need to work on my business plan. I need to meet with my marketer. I've got to write content for my website, and this is what I'm doing. Okay, that is really going to set you apart from the ones that succeed in this business and the ones that kind of set back and wait for something to happen. In your practice operations, you're going to need to have consent forms, pricing, the menu of services, the things that you're going to do, protocols in place. Then we got to focus on marketing. Got to put a budget together for marketing. You got to have a website and content. I don't recommend you having a website that offers that is with your regular practice and then you kind of stick in regenerative medicine. You want to have something that's going to pop and stand out clearly for these therapies. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll show you some examples. So again, we've talking about hours of operation to establish this early. Why is this important if I don't even have patients yet? We've already kind of gone through that. It is very important to make sure you are setting aside hours for those hours of operation. Once you start getting patients in, then you're going to be able to have a spot already. You don't have to put them off for a week or a month, or which is the last thing you want to do. You've got someone who wants to pay $2,000, $3,000 for a procedure. You want to get them in as soon as possible. And then you can just say, Mrs. Jones, I do these procedures on Monday afternoons starting at 1 o'clock, and you get them scheduled, plain and simple. That works out to everyone's benefit for sure. And so let's just really make sure we want to keep this moving forward in the right fashion. We want to keep a success plan in place. Because again, as we know, if you don't do it today, when are you going to do it? Okay, it's important to really be thinking about that and kind of think about the other ways, the other things that happen in your space where you're like, wow, I meant to do that. I wanted to get started on that and I put it off. We've really got to charge forward with these therapies. So a little bit more in setting up shop. What's included in this business plan? We need to have at least a SWOT analysis in there. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. These are the things that you need to have in a business plan. If you're not sure how to do that, I can certainly help you with that. Where are these operations going to occur? You're going to do a new location, you're going to add a location, or you're going to refresh up the spot that you've got. Are you going to make do with what you have, which is absolutely okay. But again, part of your business plan is going to be the goals on where you want this to go. And we're going to build this out for you so that you say, okay, well, this is where I'm at right now, but I want to be able to add in another procedure room or bring in, you know, in 6 months, I want to have this many patients so I can freshen up my space. You know, all those things are important to know as part of your goal plan, so you can do checks along the way and say, wow, we got that done. Oh, great, we got that done. Here, we've hit this marker. Now we can do this. And that really is what's going to keep you excited and driving forward in this model. Banking and finances. I highly recommend to have separate finances, even if it's on paper alone. If you're using QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online, those accounts are very handy, where you can actually take money in a separate kind of area, so that you really truly can see the revenue that's coming in for that practice. The groups that mingle it in with their other money never really have a grasp on what it's costing them to run that part of the practice and what they're making, because it's mingled in with everything else. The other reason you want to separate this is because if you are using a billing company, and nothing against billing companies, don't get me wrong, but if you are using a billing company and they are taking a percentage of everything you collect, and you are looking at a patient face-to-face that's going to pay you cash, you're negotiating with that patient what they're going to pay, they write you a check, give you a credit card, or give you greenbacks in your hand, why on earth should your billing company receive any of that, because they did absolutely nothing for it? That's another big reason to separate out those finances. Again, if you don't want to do that right off the bat, especially if you're working with me, we're going to have it as part of one of our goals in the first 90 to 120 days, that we're going to get that separated off. It's okay to start small and a little bit slower and build into something, but the thing is that you want to have it set on your calendar. Okay, this, you know, by now, this is when I want to have this accomplished, and here's the reasons why, and we can work with you on that. You need to have budgets. What you're going to have for staff, what's going to cost you for facilities, for your operations. You really need to be smart about this business, because this is a cash business again, and again, we're looking at something totally different than your insurance model. And these are things you really should have in your insurance practice as well, in your traditional practice. You really should have all of these things and be reviewing them. These are living, breathing documents that need to be reviewed often in order to keep on track with your goals. So again, in setting up shop, do you have a system? If you're looking at platelet-rich plasma, bone marrow, adipose, you need to have a system. Have you been able to review the systems? If you haven't, talk to some colleagues that are out there doing these therapies. You know, if you're going to a meeting and you hear about this, ask around, talk to the vendors, find out what is the best system out there, what's going to give you the best results for the best costs. You know, there are some there's some buyer bewares out there. I just want to have you be cautious of. Platelet-rich plasma has been identified that it has to be consistently 4 times above baseline, and most of the better products are 6 to 10 times above baseline, depending on which one you're looking at. But you really want to make sure that that you're not you know, using a system that only takes like 10-15 cc's of blood, because as we know, that is not enough blood to get the PRP results and the platelet counts that we're looking for, and we need to call it platelet-rich plasma. I can go into that later. I just want to make sure that I bring that up to you, or you can email me that question so I can define it a little bit better. Allograft products, there's a lot of them out there. There's amniotic tissue, there's amniotic patches, there's cord blood stem cells, there's, I mean, you name it. There's a lot of product out there. Make sure you know what you're injecting. It is important to know what you're treating those patients with. Read the fine lines, do the research on the product, ask to see the lab. I mean, there's a lot of things that you should be doing when you're talking about some of these allograft products. Again, there's a lot of great companies out there that are offering great therapies. Just be careful of ones that are coming in saying that they can cure everything from the common cold to cancer with their product, because we know, in fact, that that is not the case, that it's going to take a little bit more than that. And so, you know, really make sure you're talking to a salesman that wants to be consultative with you and that understands what it is that they're doing, has a physician maybe that you can talk to, another physician that's offering these therapies, to make sure that you feel comfortable offering these therapies as well. Again, very safe product. My husband just had his knee injected with cord blood stem cells just a couple weeks ago and is doing fabulous. So certainly not anything I would fear as long as you're working with the right lab. Menu of services, what are you going to do? You know, you might not be able to do all of these things right now, but what can you do? Where do you want to start? Maybe you just want to start with joint injections and tendon and ligament injections for my ultrasonographers on the call that have ultrasound training, and just start there. Then maybe you want to step into where you might be doing some more spinal injections. You want to add that in there, but you want to have that menu of services so that you know what you're doing, and more importantly, when a patient calls into the office because you've got platelet-rich plasma or your regenerative medicine site up, they look at that and say, I've been needing to get my elbow injected. Someone recommended this. I've been to a couple other providers. Do you do injections for epicondylitis? Well, if you're in this section right here where you're doing these therapies, yes, you do treat epicondylitis. However, your staff might not know that. So you need to make sure they are educated and understand and are informed about the therapies that you are offering. Setting up shop, we want to talk about pricing here. This is where a lot of doctors are always, Christy, how do I price these things out? Well, the average market can bear for PRP injections, and when I'm talking about this, I mean joint injections, tendon injections, maybe the aesthetic facials, which actually falls in kind of down here. Those therapies are priced between $800 and $1,100 pretty effectively, and you're going to see some on both ends of the spectrum, but this is kind of the average in here. Your average cost, and this is with Product Nationwide, I do a kind of a nationwide search on these things. Your average cost is going to be about $300, and that includes your kit and your time and any other additional supplies. So your gross cost is going to be the $300 there. So if you're charging $1,000, you're looking at a gross profit of $700 profit. That's not a bad deal. When was the last time you did that in an injection procedure or any other type of therapy you were offering? It might be a while since you've actually cleared that when you're talking about things. Stem cell procedures. Now let's talk about stem cell procedures. What are we talking about? Stem cell procedures are procedures where you are doing bone marrow, adipose, allograft product, like the cord blood stem cells or the amniotic tissue. It also would mean anything in the spine. If you're doing disc injections, facets, SI joints, any of those, you're going to fall into this category because of course your degree of medical complexity is higher for these procedures, and therefore you should be compensated appropriately. If you're doing BMAC or allograft, your average cost, you're looking at about $1,500. And again, depending on if you're using maybe like a special cord blood allograft combination, it might be a little bit more, or maybe a little bit less depending on what your cost is. But let's just talk about the average cost in here. So if you're charging $3,000 in here, you're making $1,500 on these things. And that's, again, not bad. That's not bad at all. I know I've got a lot of pain doctors on here right now that are probably thinking, oh my goodness, I'm getting like $88 for a transforaminal epidural, and that is not nearly as much as this. I wouldn't have to do as many transforaminal epidurals to replace one of these. Again, and that's part of that mindset of is you don't need as many patients to make this a profitable part of your practice than you do with your traditional insurance practice. And again, this is an exciting therapy. IV therapies, there's a lot of doctors that are doing these IV infusions. So depending on the infusion, you should be charging between $800 and $1,200, and that depends on what you've got going in there. If you've got $1,000 worth of product going in there, of course, you're going to be a little higher on this side. So, really, but for the most part, a lot of doctors that are doing PRP infusions, maybe even a little bit of amniotic tissue, they'll fall into this price range as well. I've got a bit of a typo here. This wouldn't make much sense if the average cost was $1,000 and the range was $900 to $3,000. But essentially what we're talking about in here is depending on what you're doing for wellness and aesthetic therapies. When I'm talking about wellness, we're talking about men and women's sexual health, where you might be offering the vaginal rejuvenation shot or the the injection for erectile dysfunction, and those are being charged right around $1,000 for those procedures. Most of the time it's platelet-rich plasma that are being injected into those areas, and as we know, the cost is around $300 for those. So just know that that's certainly an offering out there, as well as on the aesthetic sides of things. Those facials that people are offering where they're doing microneedling with platelet-rich plasma or even amniotic tissue, they're getting $1,100, $1,200 for those sessions. And if you're doing like hair restoration, again, if it's a big area, you're going to charge a little bit more for it. And there's a great model out there for that, as well as this is a great model for setting up a kind of a package offering. So maybe they get 4 therapies a year, and that costs them $4,000 for 4 therapies. Here's their list of things that they can get any one of those 4 times that they want to come in. And a lot of patients are like, yeah, I'll take that deal, because it's going to cost them less if they pay for all 4 at once versus paying for them individually. And so that's another model that is exciting to share and work with physicians on. So let's get into marketing. Got to take a breath here. Certainly, it is an exciting time to be in regenerative medicine. I'm going to take just a quick refresher here. I'm going to launch another quick poll to make sure everyone's still awake and is enjoying the session. So I'm going to offer up this information here, there's 2 questions here about marketing. All right. Looks like everyone has pretty much voted here. I can see the percentage of voters on the side. I can't see who's voted, or who hasn't voted rather, but the percentage here. And thank you so much for taking that time. And essentially this poll tells me what I already knew, is that the 2 biggest challenges are marketing or all of the above, that you really need a little bit of help in everything. And so we're going to continue to try and help you through some of these things. We've been able to talk about setting up shop and some of the things that you need to do there. So now let's focus on marketing. Marketing is a beast that you maybe have not had to tackle too much in your traditional practice. And so it is important to do this as a true entrepreneur, successful business person would do this, and that starts with a budget. I'm going to show you a sample budget here, some sample costs here in just a moment, but it is important to set a realistic budget, and they need to be in alignment with what your goals are. Now, if you're working with me and we talk about your goals first, and then we build a budget to fit those goals on how to accomplish those goals, and then we adjust if we need to. Because it is important that if you're doing any kind of marketing, you've got to have goals in place on patient getting patients in and retaining those patients and creating patient loyalty. And all of those things are going to matter when we are looking and talking about marketing. We need really all of these things on here, but we're going to talk mostly about the highlighted things. But of course, for marketing items, you're going to need some brochures, and they need to be specific to regenerative medicine. Don't let it get filled up with everything else that you do, which is a common theme I see with doctors, is that we have so much great stuff to share, and we put too much out there for people, and their eyes glaze over because they don't understand half of the stuff you're talking about. And more importantly, they're just looking for like some bullet points of things that you can do, and then they're like, oh, okay, yes, I want to call this doctor. I don't want everything in the brochure, so there's no reason to call and make an appointment. You really want to make sure that there's a reason for them to call you. So let's talk about a website landing page. Website landing page has specific content on it that has a call to action. So for example, we're going to talk about this a little bit deeper here in a moment on some future slides, but a landing page would be where, say you were doing a marketing campaign for a patient education seminar, and you've got some Google ads or Facebook ads out there. Well, when they click on that ad, it has to go somewhere. The last place you want it going is to your general website. It's another common mistake people make. They skip this step. Don't skip this step. You've got to have that piece in place so that people know what it is that you really wanted them to do. You're talking about a patient education seminar, and then you take them to your website, which has all of this other stuff on there. So a landing page would be specifically talking about this patient education seminar, what they're going to learn, very similar to the email campaign that you opened to sign up for this webinar. So those are the types of things that we're talking about, something that's very specific and targeted, that's easy to read. You only need about 10-15 seconds before you're going to lose them. So if you're telling a story, you want to shorten the story. This is a short story action item. And again, the content is very important and the calls to action are very important. Mailer options. I really like mailer options, and we're going to dive into this one a little bit more. Billboards. Billboards are actually very effective as a secondary form of media. It should back up kind of your main practice theme. Or even your regenerative medicine theme, rather. So if you're, you're just starting regenerative medicine practice and that's where you want to grow, that's what the billboard is going to talk about. 6 words or less on your billboard. If you want a link on why I say that, just email me and I will make sure I share that information to you. Newspaper and print media. I don't spend a lot of money on newspaper or print media anymore. It's very expensive. I might do some things online if I'm assured that we're going to be getting a hit count where we know how many people are actually hitting on that ad, and also how many times it's actually going to show up, how many impressions you're going to get. But again, I don't use that nearly as much because it's very expensive. SEO, we're going to talk about the definitions of that, and patient education seminars we're going to dive into deeply. So first, let's talk a little bit about a budget here. What is this going to cost you? Common question. It's a really common question to know what a budget is going to be. So graphics designers, for the logo, you're looking at about $50 an hour. Website designers, around $50 an hour, sometimes a little bit more depending on where you're at. Marketing person, print media, this is why I don't use it very much. It is very expensive. Yesterday's news lines tomorrow's trash cans. And we really need an internet presence to really make a bang for our buck. Yellow pages, we don't use yellow pages very much as well, but I recommend if you're going to put something in the yellow pages, do something small, just a couple lines, and then do a splash of color. Save you a ton of money, but I know a lot of doctors who spend thousands of dollars every month on yellow pages without really knowing if it ever does them anything. I can't tell you when the last time was I opened up a yellow pages or a phone book for that matter. I didn't even think we have one here in this office, to be honest. Even though phone books are online now, everybody Google searches what they're looking for. Think about how you look for things. Do you pick up a phone book? Do you go to www.yellowpages.com? No, you go to Google, you type in the name or whatever it is you're looking for, and you wait for it to come up. Yellow pages, don't spend a lot of money there. Postcard campaigns, they're between 45 cents to $1. The nice thing about postcards is you can actually get very specific with who and where you're marketing. And web impressions, or SEO, those pay-per-clicks between 35 and $1 each. They can sometimes be a little bit more depending on where you're at, what you're marketing, what your target is. And advertising on a business page also is another good form of marketing, such as a TV station where you can be on the sidebars. Because a lot of people go to those for like the local news, some information about the community, and if you can be on that front page, that's really where you want to be. Those are about $400 to $800 a month for a rotating page. You can do some addition in here and figure out pretty quickly that it's pretty easy to spend at least $1,000 to $1,500 just in hard marketing. That doesn't include your SEO. So we want to make sure that we're saving a little bit for that also. So let's talk about your website here. You need to have a content with purpose. What is a landing page and why? We kind of talked about what a landing page is, but I want to take you to this website real quick because they do have some great information out here. Let's make sure my internet's going to come up for you. All right, here we go. So we've got a great page here about regenerative medicine. So they're talking about regenerative medicine, a little bit more about the therapies, what does it treat. This is kind of a really nice informative site. Now to have it have a real call to action, and it's something that we're working on, of course, for this group, is to make sure that we have a good call to action on their landing page. But this is just a really nice site. If you go to it and you kind of look around, you're going to see that they have, their services offered. They're doing platelet-rich plasma, they're doing stem cell therapy, aesthetic treatments, and then you can click on these and go back into those. And so, it is important to have a nice, easy-moving, easy-flowing site, and this is a nice, easy-flowing site. You want to remember not to get too over wordy. on these things. Don't get too clinical because people glaze over. They don't understand what you're talking about. They haven't had the privilege to go to medical school, such as yourselves, and you're going to lose them faster than you're going to keep them. So let's go back into the rest of our slide here. So just make sure that you have a site that's specific to regenerative medicine. Search engine optimization. Search engine optimization is a process of maximizing the number of visitors to a particular site and ensuring that the site appears high on the list of results returned by a search engine. So you want to make sure that your site, when you do a search for different things, that your site's coming up. So if you're talking about regenerative medicine in Twin Falls, Idaho, I would hope that my clinics that I'm working with are coming up to the top, that not someone in, Boise or, Jackson Hole or Salt Lake for that matter is coming up on the site. But really this is where money talks. Search engine optimization is where money does talk, and you want to make sure you have the right keywords. And that is very important, to have someone who really does understand what it is you're trying to do. So when you're talking to that marketing person, make sure that they don't get you tangled up into holistic medicine, some of the more general pain terms, because you're going to start to get patients that are not a good fit for your practice. The key to getting more traffic lies in integrating content with a search engine optimization and social media marketing. So if for those of you that aren't on Facebook yet, you're not on Twitter, you're not out there in the social media space, you will be soon. We really need to be active out there and start to get some traction. That is where the best results, and those are the physicians that are stepping out of their traditional role of where they're at and stepping out into a non-comfort zone, something where they're a little bit uncomfortable, and go, okay, I don't know very much about this, I'm a little worried about this, but I'm going to venture out here. I've got some good guidance. Christy is watching to make sure I'm doing the right things. Let's keep this moving forward. What are keywords? Keywords are words that when they search, when people are out searching for specific things, specific sites come up. So if you're looking for hockey games in Detroit, chances are good you're going to get the Red Wings site to come up, but you're probably going to get the Flint Generals and maybe the Windsor, I can't think of their name. You'll probably get a couple other areas that are going to pop up too, but those are what keywords do. And so you want to have the right keywords in your, that they're searching for, such as regenerative medicine in Twin Falls, or Twin Falls Regenerative Medicine, platelet-rich plasma. Those are all things that you want to start to have as part of your keywords in your search engine. Oop, went the wrong way. Social media marketing. Let's talk about Facebook ads for a minute. Facebook ads need to have a call to action. Okay, this is something to attract them from their Facebook feed, to get them to move off of their Facebook feed and onto your ad. This is what we call pay-per-click advertising. You pay for every click, and you can set a budget for this. Don't be scared and say, oh my gosh, what if there's 1,000 clicks in a day? That's $1,000. Valid concern. And so you can actually set a budget for this. Starting off with like $50 a day is a safe budget to start with. It's not going to break the bank. But if you're getting 30 hits a day and then they're hitting your landing page and you're starting to see an increase of traffic into your practice, chances are good your ad's working well. It's doing what it's supposed to do, and you might want to shift some of the money that you have coming, that you are spending on Facebook, or on something else, and shift it onto this Facebook ad, because it is actually getting you the traction that you need. It's got to be linked to the landing page. Don't just send people to your website. Have something specific. And landing pages are something you're going to have many of. If you're working with me, you're going to have multiple landing pages. You're going to have a landing page for an upcoming educational seminar, and you're going to have a landing page for a special that you might be getting ready to offer, or an open house into your practice. You're going to have landing pages for different things that you're going to use at different times. These are things that kind of hide behind your site, and they're only used when you call them up to use them. You need to track your efforts on this. All of these things are trackable. You're going to be able to tell how many clicks. You're definitely going to tell how many clicks there are from Facebook, because that's how they're going to bill you. So you're going to know exactly how many times someone clicked that ad. But you're going to need to be able to track your efforts on the back end too. How long are they staying on that landing page, and then are they clicking further to schedule an appointment, or to accept an offer, or to join the seminar, or are they clicking to maybe get on your newsletter? Whatever that call to action is, what are your results from that? that. This also helps you build search engine optimization. Social media obviously is here to stay, and we need to embrace that. We can't fight it anymore. We need to embrace it and learn how to work around it in your facility. Set a budget for this. Again, we need a realistic budget for this, something that's going to make sense. You know, thinking that you're going to be able to spend $500 in marketing and be super successful and grow your practice to a full-time practice is probably not realistic. We're going to have to have a talk a little bit more about some of these costs. All right, so let's move into a postcard campaign. Again, I love direct mail campaigns. You can target these to specific zip codes, and it's never been easier to really be able to target these areas. It's cost effective. Again, you can actually refine the amount that you are going to spend on these areas and say, well, I'm going to do this zip code because I think I've got the best chances in here because of the median salary and the patient population, and I'll save this section for next month. And you can actually really be very specific and follow a very good, healthy budget for this. It's got to have a call to action. Don't just send a postcard saying, hi, how are you? No, this is about a special that you have coming up, a new introduction, something that's going to catch that reader's eye to go, oh, wow, this is interesting. I need to call this doctor. And the other thing is that the best results are when you tie it in with a current campaign. So say you have a Facebook ad going on for a patient education seminar, and you know which zip codes you've chosen to have that be in that Facebook ad, and then you're going to send a postcard to that same zip code. You're going to get a kind of a double whammy for those folks. And that is what we call supportive marketing. It's really going to help support one another to get additional backup and to get that extra oomph that you need. And then if you're adding some Google ads and some other things out there, that's really where you see success in these marketing campaigns. Here's a nice example of a postcard that we've done up. We've obviously removed the contact information on there for the privacy of that physician, but here's what a nice bright postcard should look like. And like right here, we have a good call to action by, requesting an appointment today. Well, you look at these people, they're nice, happy people. Everyone wants to be those people. Everyone wants to be out in the mountains hiking. I know I do. And so if I have pain that's keeping me from going out, or maybe I went for a walk down to the mailbox the other day and my back was hurting so bad I couldn't get back quick enough, I might be inclined to go, yes, I am interested in calling this doctor, and I would go ahead and do that. So you want to make sure that you've got nice graphics, just a few words on a good call to action. Other ideas. These are things everybody should be doing right now without fail. Have a TV with a DVD in your waiting room. Okay, these patients are sitting there. They've already invested time away from their businesses or work and their families to be in your office. Take advantage of that. Help them take better advantage of that. Have things out there that help talk about their health and wellness versus letting them be, informed by People Magazine and Fox News Network. Nothing wrong with either one of those things, but if you can take advantage of people truly investing in their health and wellness, where you've got a little video going on about the therapies that you offer, you might get patients without even trying, without even spending another dime. You could have patients that are in your waiting room right now that you don't even know are potential candidates because they have no idea you're offering these services. These DVDs are easy to get, or they're easy to make. They're going to cost you about $1,000 to make them. You just really want to have information about regenerative medicine out on there. Have a video on your site. I highly recommend you recording yourself or having someone record you. Have a script that talks about who you are, what you're doing, why you believe in these therapies, and why you want to offer these to your patients. Okay, only has to be about 5 minutes long, and I know you're going to feel goofy doing this, and you're going to look at me and you're going to just say, Christy, why on earth are you making me do this? But people want to know who they're doing business with. They want to see your face. They're entrusting your health and thousands of dollars of their hard-earned money to you. They want to know who you are, and they want to know what you're doing. You need to get a little bit more personable with some of the information you have out on on your website. Now, I'm not saying don't tell them where you bank or your home address or, different things like that, but, talk about your interests, talk about the charities you support, what you're doing, because people are going to make that connection with you when they see that out on your site and go, wow, yeah, I saw that your son plays on the Little Tigers baseball league. Well, my grandson does too. And those are great things. It's okay to be seen as a real person, as a physician. And so oftentimes we've been kind of carved out and pushed out on an island and we've kind of lost ourselves. We're real people in the community, and it's okay to be seen as a real person. Again, protect yourselves as far as, I don't have my home address out on the web, and I certainly don't have any intentions of getting it out there, or my private phone number, things like that. But, make it real. Make it something that someone can connect with. Brochures on regenerative medicine, you've got to have those. They need to be in your waiting room. They need to be in complementary provider offices such as chiropractors, physical therapists, health spas, wellness centers, CrossFit places, all those places. You need to be going out and talking with these groups about these therapies that you're offering, because they're very complementary. While we're on this subject, in talking about marketing and talking about referrals, please do not be surprised if you don't get referrals from the doctors that normally refer to you. If they don't understand the therapies perhaps, or they see this as competition, that you're going to take on these patients and you're never going to send them back, and that the model now all of a sudden the relationship is broken in some way. And don't be afraid of that. There are so many patients out there and so many other providers that you can work with that are ready for your ideas and want to hear about them and want to help their patients get better, that those are the people you need to be around. And I'm not saying anything against any other referring physicians or specialties out there. It's just that when you are branching out into a new age or a new space, that don't be afraid if you have to leave some people behind. Okay? Just know that that is potentially coming down the road, but with great rewards. So great rewards. The physicians I work with are just, they really are seeing things in a whole new light. So you want to make sure you have a very clear, concise message on any marketing that you're doing. Buyer beware. So many times I'll see an ad somewhere and then I'm like, oh my stars, who wrote this? And my goodness, this poor doctor is getting taken advantage of. Don't let someone tell you that you can at market that you're doing stem cell therapy when you're only doing PRP, and don't tell someone, or don't get caught marketing that you're doing PRP when it really isn't. When someone, if the FDA walked in and wanted to test your PRP and watch your protocol, that you don't have a good protocol in place, those aren't good things. Those aren't good for anything. It doesn't mean you've maybe done anything intentionally wrong, but just make sure you know what you're doing and understand what's being marketed out there. You need to review every marketing piece that leaves your office. You need to make sure you're looking at this and you're taking accountability and responsibility for everything that's going on in your business moving forward. Of course, with all this, there's got to be content to be written. It's going to take some time. You've got to be devoted to that. Social media posts, now that you've got that Facebook business page out there. So in order to do a Facebook business page, you've got to have a Facebook personal page, and then you can add additional pages from there. And you need to put your social media posts out there, ask for likes, those types of things is going to build more traction, but you've got to put posts out there often. I hadn't posted for a while, and I actually put one out there about this webinar, and I was surprised how many more views I had just from putting something out there, and I thought, wow, I didn't realize I had that many people watching my page. So it was a good test for me. So there you go. And you want to make sure that if this is your regenerative medicine page, that your content is specific to regenerative medicine. Don't let other things get mucked up in there. Unless you're doing something like a charity event or something personal you want to share, people love to see that stuff. And so, just make sure that that you're offering good content and stuff that's valuable to your readers. Patient education seminars, we're nearing the end here, and please stay on, stay till the end here because there's some great information at the very end I want to make sure I share with you, but I'm trying to be respectful of your time also. Patient education seminars, as we talked about, you can use Facebook and postcards to get the word out. If there's maybe you're doing something in a senior community or, kind of like one of those communities where, people live and they have their own newspaper, you can actually, that would be an area where you might want to do newsprint. If they have their own specific community newsletter, that's a great way for, especially for these educational seminars. And you need to build a powerful presentation. And your needs are going to be to have a good facility. You're going to have some refreshments, maybe just water and cookies or coffee and, just something light. Doesn't have to be a full meal. You want to have staff on hand to schedule appointments because you are going to have patients that want to know more about these services, which is the goal of the patient education seminar, by the way. So you want to make sure that you have staff out there to help you get these schedule these appointments, and plan for the success of these events. Go into this positive and excited and with a story that is compelling for these patients to want to be interested in learning more about these therapies that you have to offer that are so fantastic. There's great ways to go about this, and certainly building a good, powerful message is important, and it needs to tell a story. It might be different than any other kind of presentation you've written. So after all that, you need to be able to understand the therapies. You've got to be educated on the didactic information that there is out there about which of the what therapies mean what. How do you do what where? Your staff has to be on board. You need to make sure your staff is motivated and understands these therapies. They need to back you up. They need to be on your team, and they need to be supportive so that when you need help, you need a couple hours to go and meet with a chiropractor across town because they are interested in learning more about what you're doing, that your staff is like, yes, doctor, I can rearrange your schedule to get you over there. Make sure you've got the right people on board and that they're excited about these therapies and that they are excited about this part of your business. You need to keep up on your marketing and your business development. I can't stress this enough. This is not a one and done kind of thing, and really your medical business never was. It just got, a lot of times we get put on autopilot and let things kind of manage themselves, and we don't really grow from that. When you're doing something new, we've got to really take on these challenges and of course be excited. Like I say, none of these challenges are anything that none of you can overcome. You've already come so far, being clinicians and physicians and all the education and essentially pain you've had to endure from the years of your career, I'm sure. And so there's no challenge that I've shared with you that you cannot already overcome. You need to be able to deal with those naysayers. Doctors that are saying, none of this works, it's hokey, where's the evidence, kind of a thing. And there's evidence out there, and you need to be prepared for that. And again, change is good, but it sometimes means you might have to leave some people behind, okay? And that's okay. That is okay. They'll catch up. I promise you, they will catch up. They will catch up. At this point, I know you've listened to a lot of information that I've had to share, and those of you that know me personally, you understand how excited and passionate I get about this because it is a very, very exciting part of this career. But I've given you a lot of information. You've probably taken a lot of notes, and at this point, you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, this is too much. Christy, this is a lot of work. How on earth am I going to get this done? And you're right. It is a lot of work, but again, you need to have the right partner, and so don't do this alone. Don't step out onto that stage without the support you need. You need to have the right people in place, and you need to know that you have the right people in place. And so I'm inviting you to join in with a group that understands this space, and I have a special opportunity for everyone that has been on this call today. We have some great information for you as far as this goes. We're going to take just a few minutes to go down through this and just really make sure that you understand what it is that there is to do here. I've been working with physicians for quite a while now on building their regenerative medicine practices, as many of you know, and growing with quite quite a bit of success. And so I've organized this in a fashion to where I can offer it to multiple providers and work with more providers and help them get where they want to be as far as this goes. Again, your average medical conference costs around $2,000 plus travel time away from your family and your practice. And then you get home and you kind of get back into that same rut. Well, this 12-week course is designed to set you up for success, and it's going to include, at minimum, weekly accountability calls that work with your clinic hours. It's not just going to be during the day. We can do it in the evening or in the morning. I certainly understand that your schedules are a little bit different than other business industries, and that you can't always get time away. I'll work with your staff, with your team. So, maybe there's sometimes I don't need to talk with you, but I need to talk with someone in your office about some different things. And so my role here is to work with you each and every step to make sure that you hit every single one of those goal measures that we have set out. You're going to have a portal to download content, material, and recordings that you'll have access beyond the 12 weeks. It's going to be there for you as long as you want it to be there. You actually own that information. That's yours to keep, which is very valuable. Way beyond what you'd be getting at any other weekend course. You're going to have a forum to network with your peers on these treatments and these outcomes. We're putting together a group of like-minded physicians that are doing these therapies so that you can talk with one another and say, hey, I have this. What would you do in this patient's instance, or have you seen this before? So that you can truly network, because physicians often are on an island, so to speak. It's hard to, you don't get the peer time or the camaraderie because your specialty or your career really is a chosen career that is mostly private. And you're going to have unlimited email and access to me or my team with questions during the process to keep you on track. We want to make sure you don't miss anything in regards to the goals that you have for your practice. And so we've put together how to launch a profitable regenerative medicine practice in 12 weeks. This is going to include the business development and goal planning, which is a $500 value. I actually had someone who pre-bought all of this because they wanted to get started sooner and they knew this was coming. So I've already had some of these goal planning sessions, which has been very exciting to sit down and really put together a good plan for these providers. We're going to do budget planning. As you know, I talked earlier, budget planning is very important to the success of this business. It's going to be very important that we have a good budget in place and that we know how to follow it, adjust where we need to. You're going to get your protocols for the procedures. That's a $2,000 value, not to have to do all the research and the time that you need to get these protocols, including the consent forms. That also is another thing that if you had to sit down and write them all yourself, it's going to take a lot of time and it's going to take money. I mean, when it takes time out of you to do something that you could be doing something else that creates more revenue, that's at a loss. And so that is included in this package. You're going to get the marketing content that you need for your brochures, for your website, for your patient education seminar, everything that you need to get those postcards out. All of those things that are, we're looking at around $3,000 value just for those three things alone, because that patient education seminar slideshow is a slideshow that you're going to give and present to patients. We can obviously make a few edits here and there as we need to, but the bulk of it is done, so you don't have to go ahead and recreate that. As we know how hard, those are hard to write, and so it's nice to have that done. You're going to have a planning guide so that you can get through that patient education seminar, and we're going to visit with you to make sure that you stay on track for that. And again, weekly progress calls. Just the bonuses alone are $7,000, and we're offering this startup package for $3,000 so that you can get started. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the down here in the chat box so that you're able to get this, grab this for everyone that's on the call. For those of you that are listening to the recording later on, the website is right up here, and I will also, you'll have this a little bit later. So in addition to that, we have some great bonuses. We have a bonus one. For the first 5 doctors or groups that sign up, they're going to receive a free regenerative medicine landing page. That's one specific to what you are wanting to do first. Maybe we want to get a patient education seminar. Maybe we want to get some content out about a special offering that you have. Whatever it is, we're going to include that landing page as a $1,000 value bonus. Then for the first 10 doctors that sign up, they're going to also receive 250 customized brochures for their practice. Bonus 3, Register before Friday, April 14th, and you're going to receive a 20% discount on one future Army course, and that is the Advanced Regenerative Medicine Institute courses, where they're actually going to teach you how to do procedures, the didactic lectures. That 20% discount can be upwards of $460 value. Depending on which course you choose. And so that is a great deal, and it's a great way to get continuing education about what's happening in these therapies. And finally, bonus 4, as a thank you for joining me on this call today, everyone who registers before Monday, April 17th. If you've missed these other bonuses, you're still going to get a complimentary copy of Regenerative Medicine by Vanessa Fairchild. And it's a great book. It's a great book to have out in your waiting room for your patients to read. It's a great book to have your staff read as well. And so your total bonuses are $2,000 in addition to the $7,000 that you're already getting in your program package. I've set this up so there's 2 easy ways to purchase. You can pay, you can pay in full at $2,500, which is usually the most common, or you can do 3 easy payments, which would be monthly, 1 a month for the next 3 months, and then you can just go ahead and purchase those through there. So I've got a couple questions on here that have been coming through, and I want to make sure I get to those questions. And so let me just kind of look through here. All right. So we've got a question here that says, okay, Christy, this program looks great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. When will this start? Great question. What's going to happen is that once you choose your package and you get that part taken care of, you're going to get an email thank you from me, and then you're going to, by around Friday or over the weekend, depending on when you sign up, you're going to receive a questionnaire that we're going to go through a bunch of things that we need to know about where you're at with your business so that we can customize your program for you. Okay, so once you get that, you fill that out. Once that comes back in, we're going to schedule this kickoff business development and goal planning call. Okay, that's going to last about an hour to an hour and a half, and you do need to be on there for that. The program itself is going to start right around May 1st, and you're going to have a login and a portal where you can get all of your information. And again, you don't need to worry that if you miss one of the education pieces, because I'm going to have weekly webinars and weekly education pieces and you know, tidbits. If you miss it, don't worry. That's okay. You're going to be able to watch it later because it's going to be in your portal. So you'll be able to get it and download it and listen to it whenever you want to. So don't be worried about that. I will record all of the calls that we have personally. Obviously, I'm not going to put that in the portal for everyone else. Those are private for you to listen to later. But that way, if you're like, oh, what did we talk about yesterday about this, you can actually go back in, listen to the recording, and get that information down so that you don't miss or forget anything that we've talked about. So that's one question there. Okay, here's another question. Christy, in regards to social media, I've been hesitant to go out there because I'm afraid of negative comments. Well, that's a concern everybody has, to be honest. It's important, again, to monitor your social media pages, and just know that if you're going to have a social media page, chances are good that someone out there somewhere is going to post something you don't like. A lot of those you can delete, or even better, have other people posting positive comments to force those down the road. Never address patient issues on the phone. If they're like, you know, this doctor, I went to see this doctor and he treated my back pain and I didn't get any better and he took all my money, or he wouldn't give me opiates, or whatever it is. You know, don't address those on there. You can just, you know, obviously, you know, restate their concern and say, you know, I'm so sorry that you had this experience. You know, we strive to meet every patient's needs, and please contact our office. It's for us to talk about this further. That way, if someone else sees that, they're going to go, oh, wow, that doctor went on there. It doesn't have to be you personally. It's just you as the company. You know, it could be someone in your office that states this. But you need to have some very blanket responses to that. But don't be afraid of social media. The biggest businesses in the world, for heaven's sakes, our president has a Facebook page, and he has a Twitter, as we all know. We won't get into all that. But, you know, there's a lot of public figures out there that have a higher visibility and much more to lose than we do by having a patient be mad at us. And just know that the longer you're in business, that you're going to definitely have someone who does that. Okay, so in here and talking about pricing, they talked about the some of the injections, and they're saying so you price the joint injections differently than the other injections. I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't super clear on that, so I apologize. The joint injections are like for the shoulders, hips, knees, those types of injections, and then they also would be priced very similar as like a ligament or a tendon injection. So say you're doing a lateral tear or a lateral strain and you're doing a PRP injection in there, you'd price that very similar to a knee injection. So if you charge, $900 for that, chances are good you're going to charge right around $900 for that, for the ligament injection as well. So that kind of helps you out there. Oh, and then it says, what about bilaterals? Good question. If you're doing a bilateral procedure, a lot of doctors will discount that second procedure. It's up to you. Most of the doctors, I recommend that if you price your, have your price point high enough, discounting that second procedure, that bilateral portion, like for the second joint or hip or whatever it is, discount it by 50% because you should still be well into the profit range, and it really doesn't take you that much longer. Your kit prices are not that much more. Depending on who you're working with, a lot of them have what we call bilateral kits so that you actually get 2 concentration devices in each one. And if you have more questions about that, you can email me. So I am going to sneak off now. It looks like I think we've gotten just about all the other questions answered. Oh, there's a couple on here. Thank you, Christy. I'm signing up right away. This is exactly what I need to keep on track. So thank you very, very much. I'm honored to work with you and very much so looking forward to helping you grow your practice. If you have questions, please feel free to email me. Everyone should have my email through the email chain that they've been receiving to sign up for this webinar. Just a couple things about me here. There's some doctors that I know I've been working with. This is all out here on the site for you to see as well. And here is my contact information by phone as well as my email so that you're able to reach me by email or by phone at any time. I very, very much so wish you the very best in everything that you do. And just remember that you really can do anything that you want to do with your business. It just takes a plan and the effort and the support that you need to get you where you need to go. And if your adventures, include me along the way, I look forward to meeting you out there in the space. I'm at conferences often throughout the country at different times of the year, and please don't be afraid to come up and say hi and ask me any questions that you might have. I so look forward to working with you soon, and please have a very blessed day.